Hey guys, it's Izzy here. So we are filming in a different location today because I changed around some things in my room, and just in my room it is nice to film this time of year because I have such a big window and I don't have to worry about the sun being too low in the sky, and so I don't have to have studio lights or anything. But natural lighting is always the best lighting, let me tell y'all. It is. But today we are doing my wrap up. So my wrap up, I am not really going to give the summary of the books, but if you want to see the summaries, you can look at my TBR video icon up there. And if you want to have like a more in-depth review, I will be leaving links to all my Goodreads reviews on each one of these books down below in the pinned comment. But let's get into this video. Their debut album, I think it's one of the best-selling albums of all time. Okay, so this month I actually got to every single book that I had on my TBR, but I did give my first 2-star review this month, and that is the lowest I've given a book all year. Yeah, there were 2 2-stars, 1 3-star, 1 4-star, and 1 5-star. So the first book that I finished this month was The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. So this is a romance novel. Now this one really wasn't on my TBR. It's the second one that I want to get to because, I don't know, there's a picture of the cover, but it takes place at in LA, and Dodger Stadium was in the summary, so I was like, obviously I need to read it. And it had like baseball on the cover, and it's baseball. I love it. So this one, I don't know, this was a 2-star, so I don't know if romance this isn't for me. This is the 3rd romance novel I've read, and I've never given a romance novel above a 3-star. The thing about this book was In-N-Out Burger. They went there quite a bit, and I love In-N-Out Burger. That was the last burger place that I ate at before quarantine. So our main character, Alexa, I feel like she had no self-respect. And I think she is a lot stronger and more independent than she thinks, and that the love interest was just not good for her because he didn't know what he wanted, and he would only tell his friends that he didn't want a girlfriend, and he would like break things off with girls when he felt like it was getting too serious. So I didn't like him really. And then they would just get in fights over like really petty things that I just felt like nobody would get in a fight over, especially knowing each other for such a short time. I think this book only spans a few months. And I think in a relationship you're really like in the honeymoon phase at that point, and you wouldn't be getting in fights over those kind of things at that stage in a relationship. And then the epilogue in this, I really absolutely did not like at all. I wish it didn't happen. It was terrible. See, the next book I finished this month was the 5th book in a or the 4th book in a series, so I can't say much about it, but that was Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I will say this has been the best book in the series so far. Look at all the tabs. I really did enjoy Goblet of Fire. Prisoner of Azkaban used to be my favorite book, and Goblet of Fire was my favorite movie. But now I think Goblet of Fire is my favorite book. But I have since started The Order of the Phoenix, and the start of that book was so strong. I'm only maybe 10% into it. But it has had the best start in a Harry Potter book. Because I feel like in the Harry Potter books, each star is so repetitive. It's like, here he is at his in an uncle's house. He hates life. It's terrible. He just wants to get back to school. Then we get back to school, and it's like there are however many houses at Hogwarts. The not freshmen, the first years are getting put in their houses. Like, I feel like the start of every Harry Potter book is very repetitive, but Order of the Phoenix has not been. So thank you, J.K. Rowling. So our next book is one that I very much enjoyed. It was a 4 out of 5. So this is The Downstairs Girl by Stacey Lee. I got this from Book of the Month YA. I think this may have been one of the first books that I got from Book of the Month YA. Yeah, August 2019. That seems about right. So This book, I really loved the setting because it takes place in Atlanta, and it had mentions of Augusta, Charleston, Savannah, so places that I am very much familiar with. Like they went to Piedmont Park, Peachtree got mentioned, and just different places that are around the city of Atlanta and the Atlanta metro area. Like we had the Chattahoochee River, and it's just like I know where these places are. I've walked these streets. I'm very familiar with the setting, but the thing is, this took place in the Gilded Age, so like 120 years ago is when this book took place. But I have never read a book that takes place then around that time, and in the United States, especially in the South. So this is post-Civil War. Atlanta got burnt down in the war, if you were not familiar, by Northern forces, by Sherman. So the city, I don't know if it was just Atlanta or maybe other places in the South as well, brought in like Chinese workers, because slavery was like outlawed. And so that since they couldn't have African workers, they brought in Chinese workers. So I'm not sure the Chinese workers got paid. I haven't read too much into it, but I had no idea that this happened, and I have lived in the South. This year will be 21 years. I had never heard about this, so it's just saying like in school they don't teach you that. I don't know why, but I didn't know anything about that. So the reason why 4 out of 5 is I felt like the pacing was really awkward. So like the first 25% I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this book. And in the middle, the pacing was perfect. And then in the end, I felt like everything was just happening really fast and a lot of plots were being revealed. There are a ton of plot twists which really literally had me my jaw dropped. That scared me. But yeah, my jaw dropped at some of these plot twists where I was not expecting them at all. So our next book is another book that I did not enjoy. I got it on Book Outlet, and it is Severance by Ling Ma. So this book, as I said in my review, it's supposed to be a sci-fi novel, but it felt so much like a contemporary. So the gist of this book, there is a virus coming from China, hits New York City, a ton of people die. Sound familiar? I know. So that happens, and so I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be super interesting because of the times that we are living in and whatnot. But it was really boring. The book did go by really fast because, I mean, look how short it is. But the writing style was really weird too, and that was the main thing that I didn't like. There are literally no quotation marks in this book, so I didn't know who was talking at a lot of points. I didn't know if they were the main character's thoughts or if she was actually saying stuff. I was really confused. So I did not have a good time because, as I said, I was confused the majority of this book. And then we are going between different timelines. We're going to her life when she was in China and when she immigrated to America as a young child, and then we're going between her life like when she moves to New York City, and then her life like now in 2011 is when it's set, when the virus is happening. And it's just, there's no real pace to how we go between that. Like usually it'd be like one chapter, if this was a normal novel, it'd be one chapter set in one timeline, the next chapter in another, and going just back and forth. But no, this was really random. We could have 3 chapters in a row that are set in her childhood, and then one chapter that is set in 2011, and then we go back to the 90s after that. Like, it's just really random, and I did not enjoy that. So the book has a really cute cover though. So the last book that I finished in April is a classic, and it was a reread for me because I did read it in high school, and that is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. So this is one of my favorite classics, even though I only gave it a 3-star. The reason being, this book I feel like is boring, even though it's, I don't know, I just get bored with it, but I feel like the story behind it, like not judging a book by its cover or only as being there for someone, I feel like it has a very important message, but I just do get bored with it. But Mary Shelley's writing style is literally so beautiful. The way she describes humans and just their thought process and everything, I think is truly beautiful. And I never hear people saying her writing style is beautiful, but I do think it's beautiful. And before reading this, I did see the Mary Shelley movie. The first time I read the book, I hadn't seen that movie. The movie probably wasn't even out yet. So I do recommend seeing that movie, and you can see kind of just her process of writing this book. So that was very interesting. And then in the Penguin editions, there's all this other stuff like the introduction that her husband Percy wrote, and then we have the appendix for like the Vampire Tale by Dr. John William. I'm not sure how to say his name, but Ben Hardy played him in the movie, and I love Ben Hardy. So it's cool that now, since I'd seen that movie, I knew all about that stuff and how that came about. So I do recommend seeing that movie if you want to read one of Mary Shelley's works, but obviously you don't have to see the movie because these books have been around 100 years. So, but I do think Frankenstein does have a great message to it. So the book I am currently reading is South of Broad by Pat Conroy. This is a book I got as a gift. This isn't one I picked up on my own, really. I mean, I drew it out the jar. I thought it was going to be contemporary, but it's actually historical fiction that takes place in 1969 in part 1, and then we go to 1989 in part 2. So I don't know if there's only 2 parts in this or what, but I am 41% of the way into it. It is going to be a 5-star. Just the characters. This is a very character-driven. I mean, there could have been a chance that I give this a 4-star just because it's so long. Reading-wise, like, I am only like 212 pages into this, but I've been reading it for days, and I'm like, oh my gosh, some of these chapters are 30 pages, and that is, I don't like when a chapter is over 10 pages, but the characters in this book are amazing. They are such well thought out, and I really like that. And then the St. Charleston, which is in my state, because Pat Conroy is like the pride of South Carolina, but he was actually born in Georgia, so but he lived in Beaufort for many years. So this is the book I'm currently reading. I am very much enjoying it. But those are all the books that I finished in April. I feel like I was all over the place because it took me like 3 takes to film. So I don't know if I left out the part, but I will have all my Goodreads reviews for these books linked down below in the pinned comment of this video if you would like to check them out and get a more in-depth synopsis of what I thought of these books. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, comment, rate, and subscribe, and I will see y'all next week. Bye guys!